Hey everyone, my name is Abhishek and today we are going to create this 3D text reveal animation. Now this animation consists of 3D and 2D elements. So for the 3D part we will be using Blender and for 2D we will be using After Effects. And we will be doing all this without using any third-party plugin. So let's see how to create this. Alright, so right now I'm in Blender and you can use any version of Blender. So I'm currently using 3.2 and before we proceed, over here you will be able to see all the keyboard shortcuts that I am pressing in case I forget to mention anything. So first I'm going to select everything by pressing A then X to delete everything. Now we are going to create our text. So for that press Shift A, let's add a text. Now over here we have the text. Now you can press Tab to go to the edit mode and you can type whatever you want. Let's type Adidas and press Tab again. So in order to change the font and everything, we can go inside the text options. First, I'm going to change this to center and let's align this to the center as well. Perfect. Now let's go inside the font and you can use whatever font you want. I'm going to use this Montserrat bold font. Let's click on open. Perfect. So here we have our text. I'm going to press S and let's scale this twice, something like that. Now let's add some depth to this. So in order to do that, let's go to the geometry and over here we have this option for extrude and let's extrude it something around here. Again, it's completely up to you. You can just do it however you want. Perfect. So here we have our text. Now we can select this. Let's add a little bit of bevel to this. So if we go inside the bevel, we have this depth. Now if I increase this up, you can see that we are able to see some really nice bevel at the edges. Now don't overdo this because we want these to be very subtle. Now you can play around with the resolution to make these like really high. Somewhere around 5 or 6 looks good. Perfect. So here we have our text. Now we are going to convert this into a mesh. So make sure to make all the changes beforehand because after that you won't be able to do any of these. So first I'm going to press R, X, let's rotate it by 90 degree, something like that. Perfect. Now I'm going to select this, press F3 and after that let's type mesh. And we can see that we have this convert to mesh option. So if I click, you can see that now it has converted to the mesh. Now we can select this and we can separate all of these letters individually. So for that you can press numpad 1 to go to the side view or you can just simply click on this -Y option. Now press tab to go to the edit mode and I'm going to enable the X-ray mode by clicking over here. So first I'm going to select the first letter, which is the A. So you can see that we have selected everything. Now just press P and just click on separate by selection like that. Now you can see that it has separated the letter A. Now we can do the same thing with the next letter as well. So make sure to select this and now I can select all of these. Now again you can press P or you can go to the object. You can go to the mesh and from here you can go to separate and you can select over here as well. Now we have the second and let's separate all of these just like that. P, separate by selection. Make sure to select this and let's select D as well. In case you want to select all of these, you can zoom in and press Shift to select everything. Now we have selected everything. Now we can go back to the object mode by pressing tab again. So we have this layer which we don't need, so we can press X to delete it. Now here you can see we have all the individual letters. Perfect. Now I'm going to select all of these and let's go to the object and let's set their origin to the geometry. Let's set the origin to geometry. Now you can see we have all of these letters and we can just rotate them on their individual points like that. Perfect. Now let's quickly add our camera. So press Shift A. Let's add a camera and we have it over here. Now we can press N to see all the values and X I'm going to set this to 90, this 0 as well. Perfect. So we have this camera and we can just move it somewhere around the Y axis. Let's press numpad 0. Make sure the camera is selected to get inside the camera. Now you can move around with this value. Let's set this to -30. So we have our text over here. Perfect. Now we can get out of the camera by pressing numpad 0. So we are done with the basic setup. Now our next step is to animate each of these characters individually and which is actually quite easy. So first I'm going to go to somewhere around 60 and now I'm going to select all of these. Now you can press I. Let's add a keyframe for location and rotation for all of these, which you can check by simply selecting this. You can see that we have this keyframe over here. Now we can go to somewhere around 17 frame and let's go inside the camera. Now we can select individual characters. So let's select A and we can just move it somewhere over here and just randomly move it to however you want. Let's rotate it like this and let's rotate it around the z-axis, something like that. So once you're happy with this, you can just move your mouse over here, over to these values and just press I, and you can do the same thing over here as well. By simply pressing I, you can see that we have added a keyframe. So you can see that as I play, our character will go back to its original position. Now let's go to somewhere around 0 frame and we basically want this to get out of the frame somewhere around here. Now again, let's add some more random motion to this, something like that. Now again, you can press I and I over here as well. So you can see that if I press play, our character comes in and then it goes back to its original position like that. Now we can play around with its motion by simply selecting everything. Let's go to the graph editor. So let's open this up and let's go to the graph editor. Now over here we have everything. Just click on normalize to see what we are doing and let's move over here. Perfect. So first I'm going to select all of these points which are in the middle and let's press SX to scale them along the x-axis, something like that. Now we can select these points. Let's press SX and let's scale this up so that we have a very fast beginning and then we have the slow motion and then we have this ease at the end as well. Maybe I don't like this much rotation in the beginning, so we can just lower this down. So right click, replace the single keyframe and maybe we can just leave it like that and let's just set this to 0 for now. So I think this looks good to me. Perfect. So here we have our first character. So before we proceed, if you enjoy watching my tutorials and you want to support me, then you can check out my Patreon page. Over there you will get access to the tutorial project files and exclusive templates that are available only for Patreons. So make sure to check it out. Link for that is in the description. Now let's continue. The same way we can animate the second one as well. So let's select D and let's go back to the timeline. And we have the value at 60. Now let's move somewhere around 17 and let's do the same thing with D as well. Let's move it to somewhere around here. We can probably move it over here and let's rotate it along the x-axis, something like that. Now let's press I. Let's press I over here as well. Let's go to the 0 and let's move it out of the frame somewhere around here and just randomly move the values, something like that. Let's press I. Let's press I over here as well. Now if I press play, you can see we have this T and it goes back to its original position. Now again, we can select this and let's do the same thing with the graph editor. Let's go to the graph and first I'm going to select these points, then press S, X and let's scale this up along the x-axis. Now let's select the endpoints, press S, X and let's move it like that so that it starts very fast, then it has the slow motion and then it goes back like really slow. Perfect. Now in the same way you can animate all of these individual character and you will have your final motion. Before I do that, I am going to quickly show you how to apply the materials which we are going to create right now. So let's go to the timeline and the first thing is that let's prepare our scene. So first thing is that I'm going to use the rendering engine, which is this Eevee, and you can use cycles as well, but I'm going to use Eevee for this one. Let's enable ambient occlusion. Let's enable bloom. Let's go to the screen space reflection and let's open it up. Make sure to uncheck the half rest trace. Perfect. So once you're done with this, we are ready to change this to rendering mode like that. So if I click on this, you can see that now we have switched to the rendering mode, but we are not able to see anything because we have not applied any material or lighting. So let's open this up and I'm going to open up the shader editor. Let's change this to world and over here we have all of these nodes and I'm going to press Shift A. Let's add an environment texture. Let's plug the color into the color. Now let's click on open Now I'm going to use one of these HDRIs, which is completely free, and I downloaded them from Polyhaven. So I'll put a link in the description from where you can download. Just pick whatever you want. I'm going to use this brown photo studio. Just click on open. Now here you can see now we have added some really nice lighting in our scene, but we actually don't want to see the background. So we can go inside the rendering settings over here, and if I go under the film, we have this transparent option. So if I check this, you can see that now we are not able to see anything, but we do want a black background at the back. So you can press Shift A. Let's add a plane. Let's press R X 90 degree. Let's press S to scale this up quite a bit. Now I'm going to press G Y and let's just place it at the back somewhere around here. Now we can select this and let's make this a little bit bigger. Now I'm going to change this to world tab, the object tab. Now let's click on new and let's call this one wall. So this is basically going to be a black color. So let's change this to completely black, and let's go and over here specular, let's set this to 0. Perfect. Now we have this pitch black color. But if you want to keep this transparent, then you can do that as well. Now let's quickly focus on our text and let's change its material. So first I'm going to select the first letter, which is A. Let's click on new and let's call this metallic, like that. Now let's see how to create the shiny material. So over here we have everything. First I'm going to enable the metallic and let's turn this all the way up, and roughness we can just lower it down, something like that. Perfect. And let me just quickly, and let's open the timeline over here so that we can scrub according to this. So here you can see we have this very nice metallic material and we are ready to add some colors to this. So adding colors is actually quite easy. So all you have to do is let's press Shift A. Let's search for layer fade, like that. Now we can press Shift A. Let's search for color ramp. Let's plug the color into the base color, and let's plug the Fresnel node to the factor, like that. Now over here we can change the color. So I'm going to select this one and let's make this, actually let's leave this to white, or we can maybe add a little bit of tint of this. Perfect. Now we can click on plus and we can just place it over here, and we can probably make this one white. So saturation I'm going to set this to 0, and this one we can make it a little bit darker somewhere around here. We can add plus, and this one we can make like this. Now just simply play around with their position. So here you can see we are able to see all of these colors in our letters, and we can select the D and we can change it to the material which we have over here. Perfect. So here you can see we are able to see the colors. You can make them closer or farther, however you want. This is something completely up to you. You can just go with whatever look you want. So in this way you can play around with these colors, and if you want to add a little bit of clear coat, then you can just enable this layer all the way up. So now it will have a little bit more shininess, something like that. Now there are a couple of things you can play around. So if you want, you can just set the roughness to like 0, but this will have all of these environment visible. So we can just make it like little bit this. Perfect. Now for specular you can play around with these values as well. So let's keep the roughness to something like that. Perfect. So now we are done with these letters. So in the same way you can animate all of these and just apply the same material to all of these letters. So after that you are ready to render this out. So let me just quickly show you how to render this. So let's go inside the rendering settings. So I'm going to render this to 24 FPS, and let's set the output frame. So the last frame is 60, so I'm going to set this to 61. Let's keep it one frame ahead, and I'm going to set this to RGBA, or you can use RGB. If you're using the transparent background, then just make sure to set this to RGBA and then delete this background. But if you are using the normal background, then you can just simply set this to RGB. Make sure that this is 16-bit, and compression we don't want, so I'm going to set this to 0, and the file format is PNG. After that, just save it to wherever you want. And once you're done with this, just go to render and click on render animation. And after that, Blender will go to each frame and it will save a sequence of images which you can import in After Effects. And let me show you how to do that. Alright, so right now I'm in After Effects and let's see how to import our footage. So right click, go to import and just click on file. Now you can navigate to wherever you have saved your image sequences. Just select one of the image which is at the very beginning. Make sure that the PNG sequence option is checked, and after that click on import. And here we have imported all of the files. Now just click and drag it over to this composition comp icon, and here we have our footage. Now if I press play, you can see we have all of these individual letters coming in and we have our final text. Now if this is something that you want, you can just render it out and you can start using it. But I actually want to have these converted into some 2D letters somewhere around here. So let me show you how to do that. So it's actually quite easy. First I'm going to make little bit room over here. So for that I'm going to go inside the composition settings, and instead of 2 seconds I'm going to set this to something like 5 and just click on OK, so that we have little bit room over here. Perfect. Now let's go somewhere around here. Let's select the text tool and I'm going to type Adidas, ADIDS. Now let's make sure that the font is same. So I'm using this Montserrat bold font. Let's change this to bold. Perfect. Now let's align it over here. Let's make sure that its anchor point is in the center as well. I'm going to press S to scale this down. And let's just roughly align it so that it matches the text over here. So we basically want each of these letters individually. So I'm going to select this and let's type A, and let's select this, press D, Control D to duplicate this. Let's type D. Let's again press Control D, and over here I'm going to type I. Now I'm going to select individual letters and let's just align them to where we have these, something like that. Now you can press S to scale these up and just align them however you want. Let's select D and just place it over here. And there you go. Now we have aligned all of these letters and we are ready to animate these out. So I'm going to select all of them and let's first enable the 3D. So let's click over here to make all of these 3D. Now let's press R for rotation and let's add keyframe for all of these except the orientation, like that. Now make sure all of these are selected. Let's press P for position. Let's add keyframe for them as well. We can also press S for scale. Let's add keyframe for these as well. Now let's press U to see all the keyframes. Now we are going to animate them individually according to our characters. So let's pick a point. So first I'm going to trim all of these. So let's trim them like this. Now let's pick a point. So we have our metallic characters. So somewhere around here it looks good. Perfect. So let's pick this point. So I'm going to select this layer, which is the A, and I'm going to just extend it. Now I'm going to roughly align this A with this letter. You don't have to be precise, just do it very roughly. So let's rotate it over here and let's probably increase the scale quite a bit. And let's place it over here. So here you can see that it will rotate and it will go back to its original position. Now let's do the same thing with D as well. So we have the D and we can probably scale this up. And the D is like doing a very simple zooming in. You can probably move the D and let's start it from here. And like that. So here you can see we have this D and it goes back to its original position. Let's do the same thing with I. Perfect. So here we have our S as well. Now let's quickly align them. So let's go back to 100%. Now I'm going to select all of these keyframes like this and let's press F9 to ease them. Now let's go back to the graph editor, and if your graph looks different, make sure you're using the speed graph, not the value graph. After that, let's select everything and I'm going to change the graph to look something like that. Now if I press play, you can see that we have all of these coming in. Now we can do one more thing. Let's select all of these and let's move their starting point all the way to the left side like that. So we have this extremely fast motion at the beginning, and now we can select this layer and we can just trim it over here. You can see that all of these letters go back to their original position. You can probably play around with their timing as well. Let's move them closer. So now if I press play, you can see that all of these are going back to their original position like that. Now if you want to delay these, then you can obviously select all of these end keyframes and you can just move them a little bit ahead like that. So here we have all of these. Now you can just add whatever text you want below this, and this is how you can create these kind of 3D to 2D text reveal animations. So I hope you learned something from this video, and the project files for this tutorial is available on Patreon. So if you are supporting me over there, then you can download it from there. And if you are not, then you might consider it, because you will get access to the tutorial project files and exclusive templates that are available only on Patreon. So with that being said, my name is Abhishek and I'll see you in the next one.